We are now live.
Okay, and I'm ready when you are.
I'm just waiting for the audio to come through on Twitch. Got to make sure it works.
It's not embedding the YouTube video. And I don't know whose fault that is. It's probably my fault.
I don't know.
Because it was embedded before I hit publish.
Hmm.
So I
That's
don't know.
odd.
I don't know. I was up at 3 a.m. last night, so I posted last week's podcast then.
Oh.
I just couldn't get back to sleep. So I'm like, I learned the difference between I got mail.app to archive correctly on Gmail. I didn't know what
Nice.
archive did. Then I said, you know what? Somebody told me to delete all my emails. So I started deleting anything I didn't need. Like I don't need all those newsletters and everything else.
I should go through and do that.
And so I go through and like I don't need all of these things will come back and bite me, so I might as well just delete it all.
All right. I am ready when you are.
Okay. What number? 229. Okay. I know where the record button is. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 229 of the Security Podcast here on In30 Network. The year is ending, and I mean, I don't think there's any like huge breaking news. I think everyone's taken the last couple of weeks off, so we feel like talking about just operating systems, like just good old OSs that no one really cares about, but we got some news. So let's first say hi to Tom. Then we'll jump
Hello,
in.
everyone. I apologize for my pre-Y2K webcam situation that's happening right here. My webcam I was using for another show, took it out of my bag, set it up, did some stuff with it, and left it at the other location. So I am using a webcam that is over 10 years old. So enjoy this retro view of me. If I could get a nice VHS cam recorded copy of myself for the podcast, I would do that too.
I mean, I think people pay for a filter. This is probably some Instagram filter that people pay for.
It's pretty Instagram worthy. Like I've got the scan lines going down. You can't really see it in the rendered video that's going up on YouTube or really on Twitch, but when I'm looking in this like video chat application, like you can actually see the scan lines go down. It's really kind of cool. Now the colors are totally off. I am super washed out, and the colors are really like red shifted for some reason, but all right.
I mean, do you remember the Game Boy camera?
I have the Game Boy camera. It was sitting, I was about to point to it, but we just changed all of the furniture in the apartment, so it's no longer there. But if you go to the other room, it is over there. And I still have it set up and plugged in with my Game Boy printer.
Okay. I mean, I've been seeing this now. So while we're talking about the Game Boy printer, they're selling Polaroid is selling some, or HP or somebody selling like Polaroid printers. So you take it from their camera and you stick the cartridge into the printer and it prints out 3x5s or something like that. And I thought it was pretty cool. Then I remember that everyone hates ink. Ink's not any cheaper.
No, I'm actually it's really unfortunate. I'm at that point in my life where I have thrown out my printer, but I need it like once a year, maybe twice a year. So I'm in the market for a new printer, and I'm just unhappy with everything. Like, I don't want to buy a printer. Nobody goes out happy to buy a new printer.
So this is a Gizmodo. This is a Gawker article. So they have this thing with HP Instant Ink. They will monitor. This is an IoT device, but hold on. It gets good. Okay, it will monitor your print level, and it will make sure you always have ink available. But here's the catch: if you print, it gives you 3 free pages a month. So it's free. Like, so if you do more than 3 pages, HP owns you. But if you do less than 3 a month, they will gift you those 3 free pages. And you can continually do this every month.
Like, I know why they're trying to do this, right? Because web companies have figured out that recurring small amounts of revenue are typically, over the long haul, way more valuable because people forget about it. They just keep paying it. Oh well, I haven't used that subscription in years. Well, you've been paying monthly for it for about five, and I get it, right? I know why they want to do it, but I don't trust HP with that. HP wanted to charge me more than the cost of the printer for new ink. It is quite literally up there with some of the most highly inflated prices on any product known to man. A tanker truck of printer ink actually crashed. It was really tragic and spilled all over the highway. If you took the cost of that ink in those cartridges, the retail price, billions of dollars of printer ink were lost on that highway,
Although
which
we
is hilarious to me. And it's like 6 or 7 cents worth of ink on the highway, but no, billions of dollars when you inflate it.
Shaq is now whatever doing Epson. But anyway, so
Yeah,
I was in the same boat. We needed something. I print. A, I print at work. I guess that is some theft of supplies, but I print at work. My wife can print at work, but sometimes you need something right now. So we bought whatever the $100, and what we needed was double-sided scanning. That's what I really wanted. I put something in, it scans it. I didn't really need to print, so the ink would last for years. And the problem is, as soon as one went out, I replaced it, and ink dried up. The tube was dry, so what I did is I took it back to the store I bought it from. They have a very generous return policy. And I said, it dried. They give me another one. I take the receipt, I tape it to the bottom. A year later, I do the same thing. I just keep on doing this. So I got tired. I bought some HP color laser printer, and I've been happy because I think the laser printer doesn't have tubes that tie, that clog.
yeah.
I don't think they do. So
It's all toner based.
yeah, so I paid a little bit more. It wasn't that much more. I have a color laser printer now.
I I've worked in tech, I've worked in IT, I've been in the trenches, I've been in the help desk. There's there's only one thing that I hate more than printers, and that's the unholy amalgamation of printers and the telephone system. Like not cell phones, like old school twisted copper telephone system. And when you marry those two evils together, you get the ultimate demonic form of technology, which is the fax machine. And it's honestly the worst thing I could possibly conceive of. If I had to send someone to a purgatory-like state, if I was in charge of designing some evil torture chamber, I would just sit somebody in a room where they had to troubleshoot a fax machine all day. I can't think of anything more evil.
I think what's more evil is, can you fax that to me? It's
Yeah.
that is literally, I I've been lucky, knock on wood, that I haven't had to deal with too many fax machines. My wife is an attorney, and that's literally what they do. It's, can you fax this to me? And the problem is when you go buy a house. So one of the things that I tell people, because I've gone through the house purchasing process, is you may want to buy a fax machine. Like, if you don't have a landline, just get a landline and a fax machine on it for a couple months. Like, don't think you're going to be doing this nonsense of scanning and this and that. It's actually easier just to buy a fax machine, buy the cheapest one, hope that it works. Don't try to engineer a solution, and you will be much happier. Unfortunately, that's the problem.
Yeah. I actually, so speaking of fax machines, when a fax machine picks up, it makes this god awful noise. So I'm wondering, what if you took your voicemail message and replaced it with the noise a fax machine makes? Would the spammers and scam callers take you off their list? I know most of this is automated, but it does cost an amount of money to send a phone call. So usually, if the line is dead, if they get the three beeps of doo doo doo, this number is no longer in service, right? They remove it from the list because they don't want to needlessly spend money. What if you replaced it with a fax machine? You tell your close friends and family, all right, call, but my voicemail message is a fax machine. Just wait and leave your message later. Maybe it could work. It's
I
something
mean,
to try.
Google Voice did the fake doo doo doo, this number is no longer in service
Yep.
as the voice. So I was thinking about that, but you'll always get someone who wants to leave you a message, and they will get freaked out by that. Um, I think you just have to be very polite. Please don't leave me a message. I beg you. Send me a text message. Um, I will see that it's a missed call, or just keep it really long. Keep it to like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And do the, if you would like to leave a callback number, press 5, and then Verizon will do that on top of it. So they'll get it twice. Or do the
That would be
fake beep,
fantastic.
or do the fake beep and hope that it ends before. Anyway, so that's not the whole point of our show, even though it is a good look back to talk about this, because yes, we
Yep.
just went through the whole troubleshooting. But the issue is next month, January, I want to say the 20th, I guess it's after the second Tuesday, will be the last Windows 10 or Windows 7 update. Windows 7 is now end of life, and you're like, what? Yes, it's been a long time.
It has been 10 whole years. January 14th, 2020, 10 whole years of support for Windows 7.
So if you have Windows 7, it's time to bite the bullet. The update, well, we'll get there in a second, and you have to do something else. We do not recommend keeping an unpatched operating system on the net. You have to do something, and we were going to talk about what to do mainly. The very obvious thing is buy a new computer. That's probably a good thing, but some people don't and they want to upgrade. And you can look at articles. The free upgrade still exists, but it's on one of those daily, like it may not work today, or as you hear it, it works, but tomorrow it won't. If it doesn't work, my recommendation is to buy a new computer with Windows 10 on it pre-installed.
Yeah, it's if you're super technical, if you've probably already gone through this, you figured out your operating system upgrade path, you might be holding out hope for Windows 7 or do a weird hack to continue support, I would recommend highly against that. When you do things like people were trying to keep XP alive by masquerading as an ATM version of embedded Windows XP, sure, it might work. It might work for a long time, but this is your operating system we're talking about. This isn't like a weird PDF reader that you need to keep alive a little bit longer, some weird old version of Photoshop that you just can't get rid of. It's the core of your computing experience. Your operating system is quite literally the most important piece of software on your computer. Without that, nothing else runs. So making sure you've got support in not just like some weird back channel support that's masquerading as embedded Windows, but actual support from your operating system vendor, making sure you've got patches, and making sure it's mainstream support, that it's not some weird, bubblegum and twine wired up together to make sure things still kind of sort of work. Getting that real mainline official channel support is super, super important. So I have to recommend, if you're technical, upgrade to Windows 10. If you're super technical, we can talk about some alternatives here in a bit. But if you have friends and family who are on Windows 7, it's probably time to recommend that they upgrade their hardware.
And I mean, we should have spoken about this. We probably did say this last year and say you have 1 year to do it. But now it is crunch time. My father is on Windows 7. I'm not looking forward to this day. It's going to happen. Turns out that his quote unquote backup computer has Windows 10 on it, and it's actually better than his current computer. So I just may move him there and be done with it. But it is one of those things. And the good news is I was handed a Windows 10 laptop, and I remember Windows 7, and it's not that jarring. It is different. It does take, there is a little learning curve, but it's not as bad as I initially thought. And I feel like it is a simple way to move forward, and it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's definitely not as jarring as the move to Windows 8. If you went from 7 to 8 or bought a new computer with Windows 8, you know that was a complete trash fire from a usability perspective. Everything was completely different. It basically masqueraded itself as a big giant phone with the keyboard attached. Nobody liked it, and Microsoft quickly got rid of that. It was basically another version of Vista. Microsoft does have this TikTok sort of thing with operating systems where, the first thing will come out and it'll be great and amazing, and the second thing will come out and it is just the worst. So we went XP to Vista. You went 7 to 8. Windows 10 kind of follows the trend a little bit, with an important caveat that the entire operating system is quite literally spyware.
Well, and I think the thing is that Windows is no longer. I don't think there's a Windows 10 plus plus. I think it's Windows 10 and now that's it. And they're just going to do feature updates. So this
Yep.
will literally be the last operating system I think that you buy. And I mean, I'm gonna praise Microsoft on it. It's like you buy it once, and I think everything is free. I think it's free now. Support you have to buy the operating
Hmm.
system, but I think it's free. And so there's not going to be any of this. It's just going to be what update are you running. And with on home you have to take them. On pro you don't have to take them, but you have to be current in some capacity. So they're trying to keep at least people safe, which on my side is a good thing. But Tom's going to tell me why. It's And he's right, it is spyware. They do a lot of nasty things. For me it's not the end of the world, but you should be aware of them.
Yeah, so if you're installing Windows 10, right, we're going to get to the downsides of getting it with your computer, but frankly, for friends and family, that's the easiest way to keep them current. Don't take an unsafe Windows 7 to avoid the nasty spyware that is Windows 10. You are between a rock and a hard place, and frankly, Windows 10 is the better of the two options. Neither option is great, but Windows 10 is going to be the better choice for you and for most people out there. Um, so when you install Windows 10, it says, hey, we would like to analyze your handwriting and look at what you type and the things you say. And we want to enable Cortana, which is our voice assistant. And we want to do all of these things for you. Please send us all your data. You can check the boxes to turn those off. And Microsoft will say, oh, well, you're going to get a really bad experience. Are you really sure? Are you super sure? You're really not sure. We're not convinced that you're sure. So we're going to do the helpful thing and nag you for a couple more screens on you not getting the very best experience. By the way, do you have a Microsoft account? Because you should. And we're going to make you jump through 3 or 4 more hoops to make an offline account for your operating system because we know you would just love a Microsoft account and we would love for you to have one. So then you have to jump through those hoops if you want an offline install. Now, there are benefits to having a Microsoft account. If you have an account, when you sign into Windows, your product key, your registration, the thing that you typed in that was on the envelope to register Windows, actually gets thrown into the account metadata, which is nice. If you ever have to reinstall Windows, you just sign in again and the key floats down with it and you're done. It's super, super trivial. You just have to buy Windows once, sign into the account, and now you have the key. It's all automated. It's super nice. The downside is you have now created a profile to by which they totally track you. And uh, Microsoft is also doing that helpful, and that's an air quotes for people in the audio version, a very helpful feature where if you want to play the Halo Master Chief Collection, which I do, and you sign into the Xbox app, it actually takes those sign-in creds and spreads them to the rest of your operating system. So even though I was on an offline account, I have now signed my Microsoft account into Windows because they helpfully ported the Xbox sign in across the entire machine. So now I'm signed in everywhere, even though I didn't want to be. There might be a way to disable that, but as far as I'm concerned, it's now too late and my machine is compromised. Um,
You
yeah.
also have Candy Crush Saga that starts in, and they're not
Yep.
even apps. They are literally ads, and they're simple to get rid of. You right click and you do remove from the tile or whatever it is, but it's just one of those. We thought that the vendors would do all this nasty stuff and we would tell you how to undo it, but this is the operating system. There's no
Yep.
simple way to make sure that it's just a clean install with nothing on it. There's always going to be something else. What I will say, and I do want to praise, is OneDrive. OneDrive is actually really good, at least for me. Sharing simple files, it is very good. It comes with, you have to buy an Office 365 subscription. Again, subscription based in this case with but check your employer. Your employer probably gives you an Office 365 subscription. Don't buy it unless you exhausted your kid's school. My school gives it to us. Your employment, anything like the library may have something. Just check there. But look, they're trying to make support easier because they don't want to deal with XP, they don't want to deal with 8, they don't want to deal with 7. They want to be current and they want everyone else current because again, it doesn't look good when you hear, oh, Windows always gets viruses. They don't want that anymore. So I mean, even Edge went Chromium based If you want to use Edge, which is going to be Chromium based, to be with Chrome again, to try and keep you on their ecosystem. And if you want to buy the Kool-Aid, it's not the worst thing, but like as Tom said, it's they're sending all this data to quote unquote help you out.
Yeah. So if you're looking for the clean install version of Windows 10, or if you're looking to maybe grab an open source utility and make sure that all that nasty Microsoft spying doesn't happen, you can't. You just can't. Yes, I know about the programs. I have run most of the programs to de-spyware Windows 10, and let's be real here. You are running those programs on top of an operating system that is already known spyware. There is nothing you can reasonably do to keep Microsoft's claws out of your operating system, their operating system, and not have them seep back in somehow. A lot of these programs actually decrease your security posture by doing weird things with automatic updates and trying to take certain updates from Microsoft but not others because there might be something in there. Like the trade-offs are never good. And I don't want to call these programs outright shady, but what they do and what they promise to do isn't always what happens. It's not always the result. And it's mostly due to the fact that Microsoft updates Windows 10 a lot, a whole lot. I get more updates on Windows 10 than I ever remember seeing on 7, which has some good and has some bad. The bad is that you basically get no control on those updates at all unless you're running the enterprise version. There is no clean install of Windows 10. You cannot make Windows 10 clean. And I can't believe I'm about to say this on this show where we keep such an upbeat attitude, but I suggest you give up and give in. Windows 10 is here to stay, and it's spyware, and it's the worst, and it's going to show you ads in your start menu. And frankly, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And if you would like to prove me wrong, please do, because I would really love to be wrong here. But I just think we're fighting a war of attrition, and it's just not worth it.
So I'm going to throw out a really crazy idea. Remember when you had one computer and the entire family had to share it like heathens? I'm not saying that that's the worst attitude, but the next idea is, what are you actually using your computer for? So we're still dedicated and married to this fact that we have to use our PC, our desktop, our laptop to do everything. But more and more, I'm using my phone to do very basic things. I'm an iPad to do other basic things. I'm using different other single purpose things, and using a computer. I mean, I record the show on it and I edit the show on it. The rest of it, I don't really need. I mean, I'm running OS 10, a computer for. My work does give me one, but okay, so I'll use my work computer to do work stuff. There you go. I can buy stuff on your phone. You can buy it on your tablet. You can ask your assistant to buy it for you. You can run a Raspberry Pi. Tom's going to talk about Linux in a second. What I just did to lessen the support is I bought a Chromebook. And we talked about how Chrome is spying on you and everything else. But if your threat model is just using the internet, look at a Chromebook. It's $199. You can find them right now, and they'll do a lot. And Office 365 online, again, is actually, praise it, is actually really good. If you want to do nice. That, Docs works. Office 365 is a lot better, though. It really is.
It is. It is.
And so you can do all of that, and then you know what? Yeah, you're choosing either Google or Microsoft at that point, but again, ask yourself, do you really need, every person needs a dedicated computer? Maybe you can just get by with a desktop and just be done with it.
Yeah, so, I'm running my Linux laptop. My wife has got a Chromebook. My grandmother has got a Chromebook. They just stay updated. Chromebooks just do their thing. I do have a Windows 10 machine that I've given up, and I have embraced the spyware life. But honestly, this machine over here in the corner has one purpose. It plays video games. It doesn't do anything beyond that. It just plays video games. So if you wanted a general purpose computer, there's actually lots of, and we can talk about this in the WhatsApp group because I've used just about every game streaming software known to man. But that's what I do is I have my main computer here running Linux, and I remote in to go play video games, and it works really well. What I would recommend highly, highly, highly against, and this is coming from the perspective of somebody who used to take this stance and used to exhibit this behavior, do not install Linux on people's systems who you are not in frequent contact with. And by that, I mean that you are not living with. Um, if you install Windows on a or if you install Linux on a relative's computer, you are responsible for supporting that. They're not going to go to the forums. They're not going to open up IRC. They don't even know what those words mean. All they know is that when they plug in their weird off-brand printer, or they plug in some weird off-brand device that they bought from Target somewhere, it's not going to work, and they're going to blame you and the weird computer you gave them. I know this because I have lived it. I have made these mistakes. Don't just randomly install Linux on somebody's computer unless they really want it. They really want to try it out, and they understand the caveats of, hey, when you pop in a random disk from Best Buy, it's not gonna work. It's just not. It's completely different. Now, if you're living with the person, if you want to give it a try, if you want to take a chance and say, all right, I'm not sure if I want to move to Windows 10 yet, let's try Linux. Please, by all means. I love Linux. I use it every day on servers at home. It's basically an entire Linux household here. But just understand what you're getting into and the support model you're signing yourself up for.
If you're listening to this show, there's whatever the current flavor of Ubuntu is, or Debian at this point is probably right up your alley, and you'll be able to solve the problems. The support and the forums are in fact really good, and they are every day working to make sure everything pops in. Do you want to say that we're at XP levels of driver support?
I actually think it's a lot better than that. I would say we're probably at early Windows 7 levels of driver support, because like this weird ancient webcam, I plugged it into the weird USB hub, the generic thing that I bought from Best Buy the other day. I plugged it in and it just worked. I didn't need to do anything. I didn't need to run any weird terminal commands. Firefox recognized it just fine. It even popped in because it's got an embedded microphone. Audacity is like, hey, do you want to use the big microphone you've got hanging here? Or do you want to use this webcam thing? It all just kind of worked. And for the majority of normal hardware, especially stuff that has a few years on it, it's going to just work when you plug it in. Now, Photoshop? Nah, not without some weird tinkering with Wine or Crossover or any like other kind of emulation layer or virtual machine. No, that stuff is right out. Gaming, it's getting better. Steam on Linux is actually a thing. It does work really well for some games. But it definitely takes a different mindset and a different way of operating because it's a different operating system. I love Linux. I really do. But I don't think it's at the place where we could really give it to everyone and have things just work out of the box because it's a question of ecosystem, right? If somebody requires some weird application or to install some weird thing to access a service, like I remember back in the day, like certain Java applets were required by certain banks in some countries to authenticate, and they just wouldn't work on Linux. That's a problem, right? And those things still exist. That kind of weird barrier is still around. So you either have to be technical enough to know how to work around it, or you have to know somebody and have them always available to troubleshoot those kinds of issues.
I mean, I'm just going to go minimalist and say if you have many machines you have to upgrade to Windows 10, maybe you think of just getting people Chromebooks to hang around the couch and to do the majority of your work, or throw Linux on those computers, but have something that you know and you're comfortable with, and move on from there. I mean, I'm like you. I think we have one Windows machine in the house. I'm running OS 10 here. We have a Linux router. We downstairs. We have Raspberry Pis running. But as far as computers that we use day to day, my wife uses her laptop, I don't know, for an hour every day. Like not even that much, because again, we're doing so much stuff on other devices, mainly our phones, that you have to ask yourself, what are you using a computer for? And I'm not saying just to get rid of the computer. I'm just saying we have to start changing it. Your kids will be most likely getting a computer from their school, so they'll have something there. So you have options, but it's Windows. We're gonna say go. Let's make the move to Windows 10. Just understand, like Tom said, you're giving up, but you can always run that live CD of whatever of Kali Linux and feel protected.
I should mention, especially on this show, especially for this audience, I always hear about people. They're like, "Oh, this is great. I'm running Kali. I've installed it on my system. I use it every day." Don't stop, please. Please, just stop. Kali Linux is a purpose-built toolset Linux that is used for penetration testing and security auditing. It is not a daily driver. It is not actually a secure operating system. Sure, it's built on Linux, it's built on Debian, but to get a lot of the hacking tools working and functioning properly, they had to actually decrease a lot of the security of the base operating system to get everything to play nice with each other. That's not a knock against Kali Linux. It was built with a very specific purpose. It was built as a tool set. It is not, I repeat, Kali Linux is not a daily driver operating system. It is a sports car that you take out on a track occasionally. Do not run Kali Linux as your daily operating system, please.
What was that one?
All right.
Peppermint Linux, the new one that looked
There's
beautiful.
Elementary OS is gorgeous. I don't know if I could really recommend it. Honestly, if it's your first venture out, just install Ubuntu. Like I will fully say I am a Linux professional. I have made most of the money in my life through Linuxy things, and doing work on Linux systems. Ubuntu works for me at home. Right? I'm not going to be all high and mighty. If you really want to learn Linux in depth, something like Gentoo or Arch are great. Love both of those operating systems. I learned the most about Linux when running Arch. But for a daily driver, if you just want the system to boot up and work, Ubuntu, the long-term support version, I'm running 1804 right now. It's great. It's fine. Don't be a Linux snob. Don't be an elitist. Ubuntu just works, man. It's cool.
I mean, elementary OS. I'm looking while you're talking. I mean, they literally copied OS 10.
They
Like,
did.
it looks
it's
identical
beautiful.
to OS 10,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, down to the App Center.
Yeah, the App Center is actually a GNOME 3 thing. So they
Okay.
didn't invent that. They just made it way prettier.
I mean, this looks gorgeous. But again, Ubuntu and I don't work well together, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it.
You could always give it a try,
It's too
right?
orange.
They've got
It's too orange, and I know they changed it, but it's still too orange for me. So
they there are live CDs, there are live USB sticks. You can just pop it in your computer without overwriting anything and just try it out. See how it works on your system, see if it works with your hardware. It's not going to be a perfect analogy to installing it actually on your system, but you can generally get a rough idea of whether or not it's going to work for you. So go out, give it a try, and if you need help, ask about it in our WhatsApp group.
So, well, we're over time. So, yes, you have more questions, find us, tweet at in30. Let me know. I think DMs are open. Send us a message. We'll get you into our WhatsApp group. Otherwise,
January 14th, Windows
January
7 support ends. You
All
got
right.
to move off.
And I was going to say, I don't know if we'll be back before the end of this year, but if we will, we'll let you know, or we won't let you know. You'll just see another episode come up. If not, we will see you next year. And everyone, have a good night.
See
Bye,
everyone.
Okay. Save as.
All right. I'm going to reconnect here to my Windows 10 gaming PC currently doing this stream.